We start my 2022 video on a sunny January day flying with the model aircraft flyers. 2021 had seen some flying activity, so I decided I would get more stick time in 2022. I had spoken to the model aircraft pilots and made sure that they were happy for me to fly my UAS where I would be flying. In all honesty, although friendly, these gentlemen don't abide by the rules and fly how and where they want to. As if to reinforce my point, when a manned aircraft appeared, I landed and didn't take off again until it had passed. Meanwhile, the modelers kept flying, and I've seen them do the same with lower flying, smaller aircraft and helicopters. For such a large aircraft, I've left plenty of space to avoid the wake turbulence causing me to crash. Moving forward to March and continued flight practice after schools had returned, this clip highlights the difference in the light levels between the first and last flight of the day. My next clip was from June on a cloudy, breezy day. I filmed a cloudscape over Bassetlaw and took several excellent photos during my flight practice. As the warmer weather arrives, the avian hazard threat lowers, but the dog walker hazard raises and increases in number. Due to the current UK drone rules, I always avoid flying over uninvolved people and keep an eye on dogs running around up for lead. The dog walkers don't seem to care, and I've had several interesting chats with some of them. Flight practice also means redoing flying and filming manoeuvres, like increasing altitude and rotating at the same time. The grass is a nice lush green, and the farmer's field has lots of interesting lines within it. Photographically, I enjoy lines and linearity as a subject and or a background. Having flown around my practice ground, you can see that I mainly tuck myself away in a far corner of the field. This tends to keep me clear of the majority of uninvolved people and distractions, including dogs. Having started this segment with the vertical filming and flying, I decided to finish it in the same way, filming vertically whilst landing. We now move on to July and show how the severe heat has completely dried out all of the vegetation. Despite the grey and threatening sky, there had been no rain for some time. July also provided an opportunity to meet up with my friend from Skytography, who had just got into aerial photography. It's good to have someone to fly with for a change, and I could not believe how quiet the DJI Mini 2 is compared to the Phantom 4. Following the school summer holidays, by September it had rain and the grass looked lush and green again. The farmers' fields were brown, having been recently harvested and ploughed. With holiday looming, this flight also provided a necessary system check of my Phantom 4 before going away on holiday. Away on holiday in North Yorkshire, I took my Phantom 4 and, having scoped out the beaches and sunsets, went out one evening to try and capture some late sun, although this was not the best evening for it. Unfortunately, not a brilliant evening for a Whitby sunset, but there was still some light in the sky. I was very wary of the amount of seabirds around, but by flying slowly to around 50 metres, proved myself no threat to the birds. They stayed on the water or the beach, and I flew in a non-threatening way above them. My later flight of the evening saw the lights coming on, which was interesting. I considered flying closer to the pier from where I'd taken off, but wisely, I think, decided that it might be just a bit too far. Maybe I'm too cautious, but due to the value of my Phantom 4, decided I was not ready to try greater distance. Maybe if we return to Whitby next year. I take my UAS flying and safety seriously, wearing a high-vis vest, always on the lookout for anything that may distract my attention, uninvolved persons who may wander under my flight path, or hazards to flying and landing. And the two ladies who wandered into shot before landing, I warned carefully that what I was doing. The next evening provided better weather, improved light and a much better sunset to film and photograph. I used the same spot for takeoff and recovery as the previous day. There was no one around until just after I'd started my flight, when two families appeared and set up picnic tables next to me. I made sure that they were aware of what I was doing and the hazards involved. They agreed to keep their distance and insisted I didn't have to move. In the end, this just gave me one extra hazard to be aware of in the night and keep an eye on. Due to the light being better and it being slightly warmer, the seabirds were a little less settled, which caused me more concern. A couple of times seabirds came to investigate, but I recovered my UAS until they'd gone away and then tried again, and eventually they got the hint. Whitby looked really nice in the setting sun, the sea looked blue, and overall this was a much better flight than the previous one. At the start of October, I bought a second-hand DJI Mavic Mini with only 21 minutes on the airframe. As with all of my other UAS, I charged the batteries, checked the settings, made sure the firmware and software are up to date, and conducted a short test flight in our back garden. My Phantom 4 is known as Mike's second bonus, or M2B. The Mini is now known as Mike's Grey Hornet, or MGH, due to its smaller size and quietness compared to the Phantom 4. The Phantom 4 will remain my main photographic UAS, but the Mini will have its place and its moments. I couldn't wait to get out and test the Mini on the practice ground. Using my mobile as a screen instead of a purpose-built device gave me the opportunity to try out different video techniques. Here is my first attempt at incorporating the screen recording from my phone into the corner of the flight video. I thought I'd sync both the phone and the UAS footage perfectly, but the return to home test shows that I have a little way to go. But I will try again. It was a good start. Much to my surprise, the Mini handles the wind as well as the bigger Phantom and is just as stable. I expected it to suffer in the wind due to its size and weight, but was pleasantly surprised. As you can see from the photo, the return to home point was pretty accurate with the Mini. As I discovered from some of the UAS YouTube channels that I follow, the Mavic Mini has some automatic video modes. On another day, I decided to try these out. Hands always on the controller despite the UAS flying itself, and yes, I forgot to look like I was enjoying myself because I was concentrating. As I was on my own in the middle of the field and could see clearly, I decided to test my control by flying through the goalposts. Then I really began to enjoy having two UAS. I set my Phantom 4 to hover and then manually flew a circuit around it with the Mini. You can see from the movement of the Phantom 4 how windy it was, but both UAS performed really well. Having one UAS hovering whilst controlling the other was a bit nerve-wracking, but I have enough time with my Phantom 4 to know that it was going to sit still and not go anywhere. As the Mini is less than 250 grams, a pilot does not need to be registered with the CAA here in the UK, which meant that I could talk my daughter into flying the Mini. This would enable me to shoot some aerial footage of each drone with the other. My daughter had the first battery as a refresher for flying a UAS, and when we got started we began with filming the Phantom 4, during which I went through the goalposts again. My daughter mastered flying the Mini very quickly, but landings are a bit more tricky. When she was ready, we started on aerial filming proper. The knack is not getting too close, especially with the Mini, which the Phantom 4 can cause to crash, particularly with its massive downdraft. It took nerve from both of us for me to fly towards the Mini through the goalpost, but we did, and actually the Phantom 4 was not as close as it really appears. And just to prove the point that she had mastered the Mini, my daughter flew through the goalposts again. And then on camera executed a pinpoint landing. In contrast to most of the flights in this roundup of 2022, the final flight took place on a cold, foggy December day. My fingers were numb and I only managed one battery with each drone. So who's looking forward to 2023 and maybe getting in more aerial photography than flight practice? Having said that, my flight time is up significantly from 2020 and 2021.